In this clip, I want to talk to you about a market structure called monopoly. Mono, one firm only. So let's have a look at the characteristics that this market structure would have. Not surprisingly, one seller only, so there's only one firm in the marketplace that's the producer. Therefore, no close substitutes available. Now throw these two things together and you're probably thinking, well, this firm's probably got a fair degree of market power. In fact, you're right. We refer to this firm, in fact, as a price maker. Remember we talked about the firm in pure competition as a price taker, having no market power whatsoever. Well, now we're up the other end of the spectrum, the price making monopolist. The barriers to entry into these market structures can be quite significant. There are possibly patents to be worried about, special licenses required, maybe significant amount of startup capital. So that can be a barrier to entry which protects the position of the existing firm. And of course there's no need for advertising because there's no competition. Okay, let's put our costs and revenues together as we did for our firm in pure competition. So let's go back here for 1 second. One firm only. So what are we saying here? We're saying quite simply that the market demand curve is the firm's demand curve because there's only one firm. Now remember, a market demand curve is downsloping to the right. And of course, if we add in the fact that there's no close substitutes, we could justifiably predict that the price elasticity of demand here is likely to be less than 1. So let's pop it in. Now remember, along our demand curve is where prices are revealed, and we know that P equals AR, so here's our firm's average revenue curve. Okay, here's a question for you. What quantity of output will the monopolist produce? You say, no brainer, Ken, they'll produce where MR equals MC because that's the profit maximising rule. I say, well done. So all we need to know is, where's MR? Let me show you. Let's go back to our knowledge of some factors affecting price elasticity and our knowledge of the fact that along our demand curve, elasticity does vary. Remember that above the midpoint, demand is price elastic, below the midpoint, demand is price inelastic. But importantly here, at the midpoint, so let's pick our midpoint, elasticity is unitary. So we would say that ED equals 1.0. Now remember what that means. That means quite simply that the percent change in Q equals the percent change in P. Now that would mean that irrespective of the price change, if the magnitude of Q, the change is the same, and there's no change in TR. Well, if there's no change in TR, that must mean that MR is 0. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of a hint as to where marginal revenue is going to cross our x-axis. Now, remember that our demand curve is where prices are revealed, and P equals AR, so we've got our firm's average revenue curve. Now, the average and the marginal values will be the same at the origin, they have the same starting point. So now we have 2 points where we can actually join and find where our marginal revenue curve is. Well, of course, it's going to be under our average revenue curve at all values except the starting point. Now, that's consistent, remember, with our knowledge of the relationship between marginal and average values. Remember, down our demand curve, prices are falling. The only way an average can fall is if the marginal value is less than the average along all its values. Now we've got a problem solved. Let's pop our marginal revenue curve in over here, and all of a sudden we can find that magic point of MR equals MC. So here we go, start point, roughly, midpoint, and we, boom, boom. MR And here's our problem solved. The profit maximising rule, remember, MR equals MC. Well, it's right here. So what are we saying? We're saying that the profit maximising monopolist will offer for sale a quantity of output equal to QM. It will cost the firm, let's call this C for cost, it will cost them OQMAC. But what's this? That quantity of output attracts this price from the marketplace. Ergo, therefore, we can see that the monopolist is actually enjoying what we call supernormal profits equal to CABP. Now, focus on this for 1 second. Is this firm being productively and allocatively efficient? Let's quickly check. Minimum ATCs here. We know that because that's where MC intersects ATC. We also know that the purely competitive firm would actually be operating there. So they would be charging a price equal to that much there. The monopolist is charging a lot more. So P, the price being charged by the monopolist, a lot more than minimum ATC. Productively efficient? No way. Allocatively efficient? P would have to equal MC. Now, for the purely competitive firm, of course, you and I know that that would be here. That would be here. But here, the quantity of output that's being offered, marginal cost is down here. Price is way up here, significantly greater. So we conclude that the monopolist is not allocatively efficient either. They're offering less and charging more than the purely competitive firm. Now, this is pretty common. This is pretty common that we can identify in any market structure we would identify as a monopolist. They pretty much guaranteed of making what you and I would call supernormal or economic profit.